Okay, thank you. As I've said, I'm from the Research Capacity Development Unit. I'll be your moderator for today's sessions, which is the information session for library, CAT, and TTO. Just to mention or to make note of this, this workshop consists of 3 departments, which are divided by a time slot of 30 minutes each. So we have 3 representatives from each department, and we will be starting with the CAT department. And from CAT, we do have Mr. Melville, who will be facilitating this workshop. Colleagues, just to go through some housekeeping rule, please note that this workshop is being recorded, and all the resources, which includes the recording of this workshop as well as the presentation, will be shared to your module communities. Another thing is to allow the questions because of the time slots that we are having. We won't be taking questions as we go. So if you do have a question, just type in the chat box, or after Mr. Melvin has done his presentation, you will then be allowed to unmute yourself and ask a question. So however, in the meantime, if you do have a question along the presentation, you are more than welcome to type in the chat box, and then after the presentation, I will notify Mr. Melvin that there is a question. I will also be sharing a feedback evaluation, and the feedback evaluation not only help us in organizing a workshop of this kind or for reporting purposes, but also to ensure that our participants get a certificate of attendance. So please, colleagues, do fill in that evaluation form, as well as to give feedback to our facilitators for giving their time and presenting to us. Without any further waste of time, let me introduce our facilitator, our first facilitator from CATS department, which is Mr. Melville. Mr. Melvin is an instructional designer at CAT. He's responsible for online module design, lecturer and student training, guidance with content development, alignment, and quality assurance of content. His focus is to empower staff and students to compete and independent in navigating the learning management system, which is now a module, and other supplementary apps they are using. He also aims to acquaint staff with the latest functionalities and the learning system, share ideas to be constantly aware of new technological research and educational trends. Mr. Melvin is a credited assessor, moderator, and content designer. He holds honors in HRM, Masters in Education Management, and currently doing research on PhD focusing on accessibility challenges on students with disability in higher education. Now I'll stop sharing. Colleagues, as I've mentioned, you are allowed to type in your chat, your questions under the chat, and I will enable all your mics once Mr. Melvin has done his presentation. Mr. Melville, you can start with your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
All right, colleagues, good morning and thank you for your time. I'm just Melvin. Don't worry about all the other credentials that was written or said about me. I'm going to give you as much as possible or as detailed as possible information about CAT and who we are, where we are, and what we do as a team. We can be located in Diering, and you will see on the top it says CAT, and that's where the team is situated in Diering 300. So what are we doing and what are we sharing and what are we selling? We're sharing basically information regarding the learning management system and how we do support lecturers and students in this space. So what I'm going to do this morning is I'm going to give you three documents, or I'm sharing with you three documents. Then I'm going to take you through the learning management system and what are we doing and what are we providing to lecturers and staff, and also to tutors or students. So last year there was some changes made on the learning management system. There has been roles and permissions that have been assigned to staff in certain modules, and certain changes have been made. So after careful review and consideration, some of the roles were reviewed to suit the institutional requirements better. So this streamlining ensures that roles and associated permissions reflect best practices and promote consistency across all modules. So we have also recognized there may be exceptional cases where specific needs fall outside certain revised frameworks, and we have addressed it as well. So any person who requests, and I know in our midst there are lecturers sitting here who teach or who lecture some students as well. So any person requesting a module, and I'll also show you where to request the module and what your specific roles and responsible would be. Now, the reason why we have done that, and I'm going to just share the screen with you so that you can see what I'm referring to here. Right. The reason why we have done this is because we are protecting our lecturers and students' data. With this POPIA, we are extremely alert in terms of what content we are sharing in terms of the students' data and also the lecturers' data and integrity. So all lecturers or all staff who require a specific access to modules will be receiving primary lecture access. And this is what you can do. So if you share a module with a lecturer, you will be granted carte blanche in that specific module. In other words, you will receive access where you can edit the content and activities, and also grades that cannot be managed uh, via all other people or other roles and so on. So primary lecturers and co-lecturers are the only people in in the education or in the uh, um, in at UJ that will be that have access to the learning management system, that will have access to modules, that can edit modules, that can edit content and grades. Those are the only roles, and those are the highest authority that you can get in the learning management system. This is in order to protect the lecturer's integrity when marks have been allocated, and also to protect the students' integrity and the students' concerns regarding marks that have been changed. So the reason or the rationale behind this is to protect the students, and also to protect you as lecturer or colleagues who are lecturing from any concerns or any discrepancies, if there's any discrepancies that could or might occur after marks have been added or entered into the grade book. So these are the roles that's been assigned. You have your primary lecturer, co-lecturer, the tutor and marker. Many of you are aware of the tutors that will be assisting lecturers in a specific role. They can edit, they can view, but they cannot export and change marks. The very same with the markers, the content reviewer, content editor. Certain permissions have been granted there, but not to download the gradebook or to change any marks. And then we have the community leader and then the HOD. They also have viewing rights. They can edit, participate, but they cannot download any marks from the gradebook. Then you have us as learning experience designers. That's our new name. And then community assistants, and then last, the librarian, which will be touched on by the library representative and so on. Then I want to take you to the update of the UJ that we are actually promoting from our undergraduate, our first year orientation last week. And we have actually asked all students, and in your class, if you do have classes, to ask students to download the Moodle app. And I'll also show you where the Moodle app could be located on the Moodle space. They can also download it from the Google Play Store or the Apple iStore. Now, the reason why we are actually asking all lecturers to promote and to request the students download it is for the following reasons: for the real-time notifications, the offline access, the enhanced interaction and convenience. And I'll show you now what I mean with the real-time notification. So there is a icon in Moodle. It's the announcement tab. So it actually supersedes the announcement tab by far in terms of the instant notification or gratification once you send information to your students. And I'll show you how you can liaise with your students in a very brief display. I'm just going to close this quickly, and I'm just going to go up. So close this. So what we have also created, colleagues, is in CAT, we have created a postgraduate journey for masters and for PhD students. Now, the idea was actually that all students who are journeying on a master's and a PhD journey to be enrolled in a PhD and master's journey. And I'm just going to just quickly just show this. Right. I'll show this quickly. This is the postgraduate journey for masters and for PhD students. It looks exactly the same. Now, the head of faculty and administration will later converse or explain to you what this journey is all about. And we have created this module for all students who are on this journey, or the master's or PhD journey, to be enrolled in this particular module. And this module will actually, from start to finish, milestone each achievement or submission from each student in this journey or on this journey. What also needs to transpire on this particular module is, like I indicated, the milestones. It's from submission um, from your all the documentation that you inserted, um, the milestones that you have achieved, and your liaison, the communications with your lecturer or your supervisor or your co-supervisor, the turn it in settings that needs to be done if there's a submission and so on. This is one of the instances where a turn it in may be a thesis, may be proposal, may be a final chapter be submitted, in your supervisor or supervisors have line of sight and they can give feedback, instant feedback in this particular module. So the head of administration, like I indicated, will liaise with you on a later stage in terms of this particular journey. I'm not going to elaborate further on this. What I want to do is to show you where the instant messaging and also why we are asking all lecturers to ask you to download the Moodle app. So at the bottom of my left-hand side, you'll see there is Get the Moodle app. If you click on it, it opens up this particular screen. And once you click, the student click here, download the app will be downloaded, provided that the student have 365 Microsoft in his space. If not, the student can download it from the request form. And I'll show you now on ULink where it could be located and so on. So why do we ask students and lecturers to download the Moodle app? It's for convenience, like I indicated, and I'll show you now what I mean with, if you have to liaise with your student or you need to get the message through and so on, you will go to your dashboard, you click on your dashboard, and this is where you see there's participants. These are all your students in your class or all your colleagues that's been entered in this particular module, or as like I indicated, on your postgraduate journey, master's or PhD. This is how the lecturers will communicate and so forth. They will click on this participant button here. And once it opens, you can see all the students are listed here, and all the students have been divided into groups. Or you can also see all the students, when last did they access and who are active or who are not, or who's been deactivated due to whatever reason and so on. For if I would need to liaise with the students or give a specific note or quick message to a student or everybody in the class, I click on this particular button here, and it highlights all the students' name. And what I do is with selected users, I click on this choose at the bottom, I add a note, and I write my message. Dear students, please note that due to the water constraints and power outages, the class has been removed or shifted or postponed or whatever the case may be. And once you click on add a new note to 20 students, this note will be instantly sent to all the students, provided that all the students have downloaded the Moodle app and they have it in their possession. You can also deselect, and also if you want to liaise with one particular student, you can click on a student and do the very same as that as well. All right. And you can send a note to that student by virtue of a note, and you add the note then. This is one of the instant messaging, the fastest way how you can liaise with your student. However, if you do want to go the announcement route, it is a little bit slower than this instant messaging. It takes some time. You go to the announcement tab and you want to send an announcement to the student, um, and you send your announcement to the student by virtue of add your discussion topic there, and you write a note to your student and so on. This particular announcement method will take a little bit longer because it also gives you a 30-minute leeway if you want to change anything. And then, colleagues, it also have to wait in terms of in on the queue. Now, that's the reason why we're not actually promoting this particular tool. This tool is active, you can use it, but we are actually, like I said, promoting the instant messaging if you want to quickly liaise with your students and so on. Now, this is basically the module, how you will enter the module, and this is what we're actually going through. Now, I need to say this, colleagues, there are postgraduate students who for the first time will encounter Moodle. What we are currently doing, we are 6 IDs in the CAT team. All of the IDs will visit our departments, and this is what we're currently doing. And it says how many postgraduate students needs face-to-face or one-on-one training in terms of this new LMS. What we will do is we will set up training sessions, and we will also address some of the concerns that colleagues or students might have on their journey. We also appreciate that as some of the students are not all familiar with Moodle. They're coming from different universities, where different universities has utilized different LMSs, and we are willing to assist those students on their journey as they interrogate the learning management system. So this is what Moodle is all about. I'm going to go to the, just to go back to the where you can locate all the detail as indicated. You click on the UJ sign in logo. This is where you are going to get your Moodle tile. But if you are going to request access to Moodle, this is the forms that unfortunately you have to click on, and are the forms that you are going to fill in. So the system administrators are responsible for completion of these forms, and they are also responsible for giving access or granting access to all the relevant parties who are listed here. Okay, it takes about 48 hours for the SLA to commence, and then you will have access after the system administrators has assisted you with the access. However, if you need to dash into Moodle, this is where you are going to get your course. You click onto Moodle, and this is what you are going to see in front of you. If your courses are already aligned uh, in your profile, you would click on my courses, and this is all my courses that I'm currently engaged with. If you need to look for your course, or your course is not on your dashboard, all that you need to do is scroll to the bottom of it and click on this hidden courses and some of the other courses, which is the second semester courses or courses that will be opening based on date restrictions, will be listed here. If they are not here, then click on 2025. Some of the courses will be hidden under 2025. If you have clicked on the courses in 2025 and your courses are not visible, then please do drop a note to Moodle at uj.ac.za, and the system administrators will then assist you with login details and login of your course and your module code. Now, this is in a nutshell what is Moodle all about, colleagues. This is the services that we are offering at CAT, and we are more than willing to assist if there's any questions after this session. This is where I'm going to stop. Thank you. Kotsi, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Melvin. That was a very informative. To colleagues and everyone, if you do have a question, this is now a chance to ask Mr. Melvin. And I will just ask Mr. Melvin to type in your contact details or anyone from your department who will be able to take queries, should there be queries after the session. So, colleagues, if you do have a question, just now raise your hand or let me enable all your mics so that everyone can have a chance to ask questions. If you do have a question, just unmute your mic and ask question. However, you can also type in the chat box. Thank you. Well, thank you, Mr. Melvin. The contact details are now on the chat. So should you have any further questions regarding access to module, you are more than welcome to send them the email as per the email address in the chat box. Any question? Oh, well, just a quick one, Mr. Melvin, from my side. The instant messaging, does it allow the same content as the announcement? So, or maybe there is a certain limit in terms of the content that you are putting when you are sending a message to student.
The very same content that you send on announcement could be sent via the instant messaging.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right.
Yeah, thank you so much. Colleagues, any question? Well, it seems like we do not have any further questions under the chat or anyone raising their hands. So I think, Mr. Melville, we can close it here for now. I hope the colleagues will send you emails should they have any further questions. We thank you so much for your presentation and taking your time to facilitate this workshop. We will share your presentation with everyone on model communities. Thank you so much, Mr. Melville.
Thank you, Fortune.
Okay, colleagues, we're now moving to our next session. Okay, someone's mic is on. Okay, let me just mute this person. Sorry. Okay, we are now moving on to our next session, which is TTO, Technology Transfer Office. And our facilitator is Miss Ruada Mohiden, who will be facilitating this session and telling us more about their services at TTO and how do we access those services and how do we conduct them. Allow me to introduce Ms. Ruada. Ms. Ruada is a geologist and intellectual property practitioner serving as an intellectual property officer at the University of Johannesburg's Technology Transfer Office within the Research and Innovation Division. Her role at UJ includes building relationships with internal stakeholders, intellectual property identification and protection, case management, and seeking opportunities to exploit UJ technologies. She will be taking you through the services that the TTO offers to support you in your postgraduate journey. Without any further ado, Ms. Ruada, you can start with your presentation. Again, colleagues, please hold your questions or just type them in the chat box. We will ask questions after Ms. Ruada has done with her presentation. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. I just want to make sure I'm audible and you can see my screen.
Yes, you are audible and we can see your screen.
Perfect. Thanks. Good morning, everybody. Like it was said, I'm Ruwaida and I'm from the university's technology transfer office, and we fall under the research development and support unit. Not sure why my slide is not moving. Okay. So who are we? Who is the TTO? The university's TTO has a vision to promote a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship at the university, which is aligned to the university's strategic objectives. The first one being research and innovation. And we aim to be a multidisciplinary one-stop interface between UJ research, business, and the community so that we can benefit the university and the local economy. Um, like I said, we fall within the research, development, and support unit. We manage all the university's intellectual property. We facilitate the technology transfer thereof. So if there's any intellectual property developed that has use in the market, we help to develop that to a point where it can then be taken up by partners who can then take it to market. And we support IP development, innovation, and recently there's been a very strong focus on entrepreneurship and incubation. So our services include identification of IP and protection. So we go out to faculties and research groups within faculties to see if there's any intellectual property that we can identify, and then assist in protecting that and managing that in the best way so that we can leverage it to get the university and society at large the most benefit. We assist in commercializing that IP, so we find partners. So we market your technology to industry, find suitable partners, and then negotiate license agreements to then transfer the IP to them for them to then commercialize it. We provide incubation services. So our office often runs support incubation support challenges, entrepreneurial development competitions. We provide business mentoring and coaching. We have a hot desking facility at our office. And that sort of thing. And then we also do fund management. We assist in sourcing external and internal funding opportunities for different stages of development. So if you're at a very early stage in your research and you need money to, for example, build a proof of concept, that's pre-seed funding, which we can provide. There's also seed funding if you're further along down the development, if you maybe need money for to test the product in the market or that sort of thing. So we have our own internal funding, and there's external funding opportunities that we have access to. I've been saying intellectual property and using many words. So I thought it's prudent for me to go through what that means so that you can understand what it actually is. And if you come across anything during your research, you understand what it is. So intellectual property is any creation of the human mind arising from any intellectual or scientific activity, or it can be literary or artistic. Intellectual property rights then is the legal protection afforded to that creation in the form of different rights. These being patents, registered designs, copyright, plant breeders' rights, and trademarks. So these are all registerable intellectual property rights. And then you get trade secrets and know-how, which are not formally registered but still afford you a right over your intellectual work. So what is a patent? I'm sure you've heard the word or come across the word. What is it and what does it do? So patents don't just protect anything and everything. if there's very specific subject matter that is actually patentable. It protects inventions, products, processes, devices, and compounds of a technical nature. That's the key thing. There has to be some sort of technical input into your invention for it to be protected. And by South African patent law, how we decide whether it is or isn't a subject matter that's patentable, we look at non-patentable subject matter, which, for example, includes mathematical formulas, computer programs, biological processes, that sort of thing. So there's a whole list of non-patentable subject matter. Games, for example, board games, business processes, business methods are not protected by patent. So what is a patent? It's a full disclosure of your work. So if you come up with, for example, a mechanism to produce or a device to produce electricity using solar power, for example, it's the full disclosure of how you do that with every last detail. And what do you get in return for giving away this whole thing that you've come up with? For what do you get for giving away or putting in the public domain your intellectual creation? You get a time-limited monopoly in a specific territory. What this means is you can stop anyone else from copying your work. So it gives you the right to stop anyone from doing the same thing that you've done. The catch is that it's time limited. So patents last only 20 years. So after 20 years, that information then is free for all to use, and it's territorial. If you want protection in a specific territory, you have to file for a patent in that territory. So if you file in South Africa, you're only protected in South Africa. If you file in South Africa, US, China, you're only protected in those territories, so on and so forth. And then the other thing is, if you do get a granted patent, you'll have to maintain it, meaning you have to pay renewal fees on an annual basis, or else the patent becomes expired and again free for all to use. So yeah, I think I touched on this a bit in the previous slide. There's a certain stuff that's only patentable, and the specific things that are not patentable means you can't protect it via patent. You need to find some other way of leveraging your work for commercial benefit. Then there's 3 key criteria that a patent has to meet in order for it to go to grant. So you can file for a patent, but it doesn't necessarily always mean it's going to get granted. What that means is your rights are not going to take effect until it goes to grant. And those 3 requirements are novelty, means newness. What you've done must be new. No one else in the world should have done that before. That's the first one. The second one is inventiveness or unobviousness. It means it's something that had some thinking involved. You didn't just take A and B and put it together and said, I got AB, and that's new. There had to be, so if someone with a similar skill set to you had to look at this, they'd be surprised and say, wow, I didn't think of this. So where novelty is sort of a black and white thing, inventive stuff is a bit more difficult to overcome. And the third one, it has to be useful. I got a bright yellow sign saying publications here. There's obviously there's this misconception or notion that especially with researchers that have this publish or perish imperative, publication does not necessarily mean that you can't patent. But if you publish before you file for a patent, you could impact your own novelty. So it doesn't mean you can't ever publish your work and get the benefits associated with publishing. It just means you need to manage it appropriately. So if you are considering patent protection, hold on with publishing and come speak to the TTO first so we can guide you appropriately. Yeah, just explain that patenting and publication, they're not mutually exclusive. They just need to be managed properly, and the timing of which one takes place when needs to be managed. Then another distinguishing concept to note is that an inventor is someone that's listed on a patent as the person who's created this intellectual property. So they came up with the concept, they did the development, the research, etc. They are the inventor on the patent. That's a person, the researcher. And that's very different to authorship in a publication. Authorship in a publication can be, oh, I was part of the publishing. I maybe just put some samples in the oven and contributed a few tables here and there, and then I'm listed as an author. Inventorship is very different. There has to be an intellectual contribution from the person. So if you were working under supervision and instruction and you were told to do X, Y, Z and you did it, you don't qualify as an inventor. The person has to have an intellectual contribution. Whereas authorship, anyone who contributed anything can be an author in a publication. So it's just important to note the differences and the implications of that, because listing someone who hasn't contributed as an inventor can your patent can be deemed invalid. Yeah, so that's patents. You know, in academic research, it's a very important one, and that's why I took a bit more time trying to explain it. Then there's copyright. Copyright protection is afforded to literary works, musical works, artworks, computer programs, coding. You know, so copyright subsists automatically the moment you reduce your work to material form. So it mustn't be an idea in your head. There has to be some tangible production of that idea in your head. So if it's artwork, it has to have been drawn, for example. When there's a tangible format, or what the law refers to as material form, copyright protection subsists automatically. So you have that automatic protection that you should give others the right to do this work only if you want to, and with your permission. So it stops others from sort of just copying your work. It's just to create that awareness that you've come up with the work and you have the right to reproduce it, to publish it, to perform the work, to broadcast, etc. The owner of copyright is the author or the creator. So the person who's actually done the work, the person who drew the image, the person who came up with the code is the owner, as opposed to a patent where the inventor is not necessarily always the owner. The owner, in our context, for example, you as a researcher would be the inventor whose name would be listed on the patent as an inventor. But the University of Johannesburg would be the owner of the patent. So there's a difference there. With copyright, you automatically the owner. Yeah, then so we've been through patents, copyrights. Then you get design registration, which is intellectual property protection for the way things look. And in South Africa, you have two types of designs. You have functional and aesthetic. Let's start with aesthetic. It's protection for something simply because of its pattern, because of its shape, because of its ornamentation. It doesn't necessarily have to be beautiful. I mean, beauty lies in the eye of the beholder. As long as it's new and original and you feel you want to protect the way it looks, you have a right to do so. Functional design is similar. It protects the way something looks, but those looks or features are necessitated by some specific function. So if, for example, you had to consider a water bottle, that it had the shape of a water bottle, but had a square indentation in the middle of the bottle. So then it changes the way the bottle looks. So you want to protect the look, but also having that indentation allows more grip when holding the water bottle. So there's some sort of function necessitated by that square feature. So that's what a functional design protects. Also, the requirement is just it must be new. It mustn't exist anywhere else, and you'll get design protection for it. Functional designs last 10 years, aesthetic designs 15 years, similar to patents. They territorial, they only covered, you covered for only in the territories in which you protect them. And having a design registered allows you to stop others from making, using, selling, or importing your design if it's in the same class. So There's different class for design registration. For example, one class can be food and beverages, another class can be clothing and textiles, another class can be furniture. So it depends where in which class you protect your design. Trademarks, then, so that's, yeah, we did patents, copyright, design. Trademarks, I'm sure, is one that you're most familiar with. Trademarks are simply marks or signs. They serve to distinguish your good or service from that of others. That's basically all it is. It distinguishes you in the marketplace using certain colors, shapes, logos, or designs. So any sign capable of being represented graphically, which includes a signature, word, shape, pattern, color, or any combination thereof, can be protected as a trademark. Why should you protect the trademark? Because it gives you the right to prevent others from copying your trademark or using anything similar, anything confusingly similar. So if someone else comes up or has a Nike tick but upside down and puts it on clothes, Nike can go after them. So also trademarks are protected in classes, which is very important. So if you have the Nike trademark, for example, in the clothing and textile and shoes class, and then someone comes up with Nike chicken wings, for example, and you don't have protection for the Nike logo in the food class, that gives the other person some sort of leverage to run with your logo in that food class. So you have to be very detailed in terms of how you file for trademark protection and in which classes you want to protect that in. Trademark is a very strong form of protection because it can last forever. Unlike patents, which are 20 years, and designs 10 or 15 years, trademarks last forever as long as you renew them every 10 years. So, for example, Coke, Google, McDonald's, the ones you see on screen, they're really, really old trademarks, but nobody can use them still because they last forever. Yeah, so then just like a quick summary of what we've been through, just so you can put it into practice. If you consider a cough medicine bottle, there's various forms of IP protection in that bottle. For example, the shape of the bottle could be protected by design. The lid on the bottle could have a design, maybe for the ridges on the lid, or even a patent, maybe by the way it locks, and the way it can't open with the child protection or tamper-proof opening mechanism. The formulation of the actual syrup could be patented, or it could be kept a trade secret. The name Benylin, for example, could be protected by trademark with the blue and red in the font. The image of the teddy bear could have copyright protection. The instructions and the leaflet that comes inside the box has copyright protection. So just to put all of it into context, IP is not some far away concept that we don't see every day. We maybe don't know of it, but it's there, and it's applied in our daily life. Okay, so that's about IP. Now I move on to some detail with regards to how we fit in and how the law fits in. So all TTOs in South Africa are mandated to exist in universities by law. So there's an act called the Intellectual Property Rights from Publicly Financed Research and Development Act, or what we refer to commonly as the IPR Act, which was created in 2008, took effect in 2010. So it's not a very old act. It's quite a recent act. And it was created to encourage more effective utilization of any IP emanating from publicly financed research and development. So your work, if you're conducting research in the course and scope of your studies, being paid for by the university, or using the university's research facilities, this excludes now bursaries, then that would be publicly financed research. So the act was created to encourage more effective utilization of that research. How can we take it, develop it into useful products, and have society benefit from it, be it financially or in any other way? Then there was an office called NIPMO, the National IP Management Office, created to ensure that this act is compliant. So they sort of our watchdog to ensure that we actually follow this legislation. What do we have to do as the university? How is this applicable to us? So as a university, we have to disclose any new IP that we come up with within the course and scope of research. So we have to report to NIPMO any new IP, and then we have a responsibility to protect that IP and then commercialize it. There's also the IP fund within the Act that we are allowed to claim money from for IP protection costs. And there's certain preferences that the Act outlines when conducting IP transactions. So if we license the IP to another party, the Act would prefer that it's done non-exclusively. It would prefer that we do it with South African entities rather than offshore entities, and we consider SMMEs and triple BEE entities. The Act also enshrines in it the principle of benefit sharing. So you might be saying, okay, I'm an IP creator and I come to the TTO and say, here's my IP, I disclose it to the TTO, and you go and run with it and license it. What's in it for me? So the law allows IP creators to share in any benefit that accrues from commercial revenue. So if we license it and we get royalties from that, you as an IP creator get a percentage of that royalty. It also the Act also grants walk-in rights to the state to claim the IP for emergency or whatever reason. That's like just a side note. And there's implications for research collaboration. So when you collaborate with another partner, or you enter into a research collaboration agreement, always remember the IP implications and the fact that you need to comply with the requirements of the Act. And that's why also the TTO is here to engage with us so that you can better understand what you can and can't do and what would be favorable to do. Then we get to the university's intellectual property policy, which is heavily based on the Act because we need to be compliant. The policy encourages and incentivizes the development of university IP creators, which is you, the researcher, of IP capable of creating value and making an impact in society. The policy governs the ownership, management, and exploitation of the university's IP in the best interests of the university, of the IP creators, and of society at large. It also ensures that we're compliant with the IPR Act. The obligations of you as a researcher is to disclose any new IP as soon as possible to the TTO and prior to any publication. So before you just go and publish your work and you feel like there's something in here, this could be, we could make money from this, or this could be of benefit in some way, come and speak to the TTO. And we have what's called the disclosure process. It's an internal process. Your work still remains confidential when you disclose to us. And we will help you through understanding what your work can and can't do. The policy also outlines the commercialization process of protecting the IP and licensing, and it also discusses benefit sharing, which I explained in the previous slides. It also touches on IP implications in contracts, like, for example, research collaboration agreements. So according to the policy and as aligned to the IPR Act, IP developed in the course and scope of your studies using university resources will be owned by the university. Where such IP is developed by either employees in the course and scope of their employment or students or PDRF, master's, and in this instance, we generally refer to postgrad because that's where research takes place. In the course and scope of their research, under supervision of a university employee and or making use of university resources, the university owns that IP, not you. If, for example, you are doing your PhD in lithium-ion battery something, and you then on the side build some chemical or create some chemical formulation that enhances hair growth, using your own time and your own resources, that's your IP. So IP generated by you in your own time, unrelated to your work, not using UJ resources, that's yours. But any work that's done in the course and scope of your studies using university resources is owned by the university. So how can the TTO support you through this process? So I referred to the disclosure process, and that's where the engagement with us starts. So you're the one conducting research, and then you say, "Oh, wow, there's this moment. I think there's something." You go through what's called the invention disclosure process. So you contact the TTO. You say, "I have a disclosure to make." We provide you with a link to complete a form. And then we once you submit it, we then evaluate it to say, what's the market potential here. We conduct assessments on it to see what's the market and commercial potential and a possible IP protection strategy. We help you protect it, and then we help you market it. If it's at that stage where you're ready to say, I want a partner on board who I can license it to, who can then take it to market, or whatever the case may be. So that's sort of the innovation process that we can assist you with. This is just a quick run through of disclosure process. You engage with the TTO. Based on the discussion, the TTO will say, okay, submit a disclosure, which you will do. And then within 3 weeks, we then do the assessment. And then once we complete the assessment, we assign a case manager to you who will then communicate the outcomes, the next steps, formal IP protection, build a business case, etc. So this is the disclosure process that you will run through if there's indeed any IP that you develop in the course and scope of your research. So based on everything I said, we can support you, we can provide advice in all aspects of IP and technology transfer, including IP clauses in contract. We assist you through the disclosure process. We help you identify the commercial potential of your work and define a strategy to actually commercialize. We help you with further development and funding for further development, seeking suitable partners, showcasing your technologies, compliance with the Act. And like I said, recently there's been a very strong focus on incubation and entrepreneurship, especially from the TTO. So if there's a business, for example, that you have that's not even part of your research, we can assist you with. We have a venture mentoring service that we run at the TTO. There's an incubation program. We've recently put up a makerspace. So if, for example, you want to quickly build a prototype or something like that, we have machinery to do that at the TTO. It's very, very new, as recently as this year. So it's still sort of a work in progress, but I'm just putting it out there so that you know it exists and come to us. If there is something you want to do, there's a 3D printer and that sort of thing. So we call it a makerspace. And then, like I said earlier, there's funding opportunities that we have access to internally and externally that can help you push your research to the next level if that's what you're looking for. Where we based, we not on campus, we just off campus on Plantation Road. So the best way to explain it is sort of behind the McDonald's. So if you know where's McDonald's, our office is just next to the McDonald's. And we have an open door policy. You're welcome to visit the TTO at any time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rueda. That was a very informative presentation. To colleagues, if you do have a question for Ms. Rueda regarding the TTO services, just unmute yourself or type in the chat box, and then we will attend to your questions. Ms. Rueda, just to ask, you talk about the funding. Is it open to every field of study or maybe to some selected fields?
No, so the funding is open to all fields of study. It's not selected, provided you can support your application with the necessary requirements. There's no restriction in terms of field of study.
Okay, thank you. And to all levels of studies, masters, honors, or to PhD?
Yeah, so generally we work with masters and PhD because that's where you conduct the PhD and postdoc, masters, PhD, postdoc. That's where you conduct the most research. If they are honest projects that warrant funding, we do that also. There've been a few from, for example, industrial design, where they've come up with really cool stuff that the TTO has pledged to assist them in taking it further. So as long as you sort of meet the criteria that, it's something that's useful and we can see benefit coming out of it, then um, all fields of, all stages of study, let's put it that way. Yeah, post-grad.
Okay. Thank you so much. And another one, is there a closing date or maybe a certain period whereby you're like, no, or we're not taking applications during this period of the year?
So the TTO generally sends out a university-wide email to say the call is now open. For example, for external funding, the call is open from this date to that date. For internal funding, the call is, so we send out via the, if you have a university email address, you should get the communication to say the call is open now or in closing then. If you're unsure, just send us an email and we can take it from there. But it's not open. It's not like it's a running call throughout the year. But if you do feel like you have something and you require funding, bring it to us and we'll see what we can do.
Okay, thank you so much. To colleagues, if you do have a question before we move to the next session, please ask. This is the time. Well, it seems like there are no questions from the chats or from the panel. Anyone raising their hands? No one. Um, Without any further waste of time again, we'd like to thank you, Ms. Rueda, for taking your time. Actually, it's my first time as a student as well to hear about the TTO services. So this was really very, very, very informative. We thank you so much. And we do believe that our participants have learned a lot and will utilize your services going forward. Thank you so much for your presentation once again.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Now we are moving to the next session, which is the library information session. We will be learning more of the services the library offers. Usually we just go to the library and sit down and just do our own things, and we don't know other resources or services they can provide, especially us as a postgraduate student. So we have Miss Ivy who will be facilitating the workshop and giving us more information about the services they provide at the library, as well as who to contact going forward should we have any queries or anything that we will want to know regarding the library services. Miss Ivy is a faculty librarian, research at the Auckland Park campus. She will be taking us through the services being offered at the library. Thank you, Miss Ivy. You can go ahead with your presentation.
Thank you so much for the warm welcome. Good morning, everyone. I am delighted to be here. As already introduced, my name is Ivy Sehwe, and I am going to be giving an introduction really of what the library offers for postgraduate research. So I am going to share my screen in a minute. Please give me a sec. I think that my screen is visible now. My slide, can you
Yes,
see my slide?
it is visible, but it's not on presentation mode.
Oh, okay. And now? Still not on presentation mode.
Yes.
It is on presentation mode from my side. Okay, let me try something else. Sorry about that. Oh. And now?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. So I thought I should just title my presentation Top 10 Things You Need to Know About the UJ Library, at least for this session, because I only have 30 minutes, so I will not be going very much into the items that I want to share with you, but I just want to give you a sense of what is available. And we offer a series of workshops during which we will be going into these items or topics in a much more broader sense. So I am the research support librarian based at the Kingsway campus on level 2, and that is my email address if you need to reach out at any point. So the first thing that I wanted to share with you is that as postgraduate students, you do have access to an exclusive space, which is called the Research Commons. So this space or these spaces are available throughout our or at all the campus libraries. So we have 4 campus libraries: DFC or Doornfontein campus, Soweto campus, Auckland Park, Kingsway campus, and the Banting Road campus. So this is a space that is pretty much secluded from the noise or from other areas of our libraries. And as these areas tend to be full, so this is a space that is designed for postgraduates to really focus on their research. So at the Research Commons space that is based at the Kingsway campus, we do have what we call research rooms. So as a postgraduate student, you can come into this room and you can use it for a day. Usually students will come in because they are meeting with their supervisors or they are doing a presentation, or they would just like to have a space to work from. Um, so these spaces are only available at the Auckland Park Kingsway campus. And at the bottom, I have provided a QR code, which you can take maybe for future use. So if you would like to use these rooms, you will just need to make a booking prior to your visit. The number 2 thing is that each faculty has a dedicated faculty librarian. These are the colleagues that really should be your friends, in a sense that whenever you are in doubt, whenever you are unsure on where to find a certain resource, how to access, how to search, how to locate items that are necessary for your research, whether there is books, journal articles, or our institutional repository, which I will talk about later. These are the go-to persons. So you can also take down their contact details, but I will also be sharing this presentation with my colleague from the postgraduate school, so you will have access to it later. So as the library, I think what really makes the library is the fact that we are a collection of numerous resources. So we do have several items or resources that I wanted you to know about for now. We have the library catalog. I just want to get a pointer. So we have the library catalog, which is a database that we use to locate books. So if there is a book that you're looking for or a journal that you're looking for, the best place to start at is the library catalog. It shows all our holdings across the different libraries, and the UJ library is really an electronic library. So more and more we buy electronic resources. So we strategically buy electronic books, electronic journals, because we do understand that, especially for postgraduate students, you are not always on campus. So you will see as you go onto the library catalog that we also have a collection of ebooks across all the different disciplines. We also have a collection of journals across all the disciplines. So to access books, you will then, this is a screenshot from the library database, from the library's website, and that is the URL there. But if you, the easiest also is to access us from Moodle, the student portal. There is a link there. You can also go to the general UJ website, uj.ac.za. Right at the top, there is a link that says library. You will be taken to this landing page or home page. So this is where you will find the library catalog, a collection of library databases. So library databases are platforms that gives us access to, or that allows you to search the different journals. So these are categorized according to subject. So we have what we call multidisciplinary databases. So these are databases that will cater for all the subject disciplines. Some of you might have heard of databases such as EBSCOhost, Taylor and Francis, Science Direct, and so forth. We also have what we call subject-specific databases, which are databases that are meant for specific subjects. So, for example, we know that IEEE is for the engineers, and there's another database that might be relevant for business as well. So the databases are categorized also according to the discipline. So you will be able to see or to get some guidance when on our web page on which database to search. The other resource that we have developed as the library is what we call the lib guides. These are web pages really that the librarians that I spoke of earlier on have created, because we have over 260 databases on our library's website. That is just databases. Um, it sometimes becomes very difficult for our users to really get to what they need to access. So users tend to get lost. So what we have created as librarians is that we have created the LibGuides, which are really web pages that are categorized according to a faculty. So each faculty librarian will have what we call a lib guide. So there's a lib guide for humanities, there's a lib guide for engineering, there's a lib guide for law, for science, and so forth. So on these lib guides, you are going to get advice, even guides on how to search for books, for example, how to reference sources, the databases that are relevant for your subject discipline. So this is a screenshot, just the bottom part, from the College of Business and Economics guide. So, and the tabs that are at the bottom just shows you the different um, tabs or information that is provided from the lib guide. So there will be guidance on how to find journal articles step by step, guides on how to actually search on the databases, um, information on dissertations and theses, online tutorials, and so forth. So these are quite useful because you can just go to your specific databases from a LibGuide instead of starting from the homepage. So when you are on our homepage, there is a link that says library guides. When you click on this, you will be able to see the different lib guides per faculty. And from that particular lib guide, you will also get to see who your librarian is in case you forget. You can also get their email address from there as well as their telephone number. We also have a tool that is called Lean Library. It's a plugin. This plugin is quite useful because oftentimes when we are looking for articles, we start searching from Google Scholar, which is something that we do not have a problem with as the library. But the problem that you are most likely to encounter when searching on Google Scholar is that sometimes you will not have access to the full text. So now and again, you might be asked to pay a few dollars or euros for an article that you are trying to access. This is because that particular article is not necessarily available for free, but then it does not mean that it's not available at all. It just means that it's not available via Google Scholar because you need to have a paid subscription. And this is how the library then comes in. This is why we subscribe to all these different journals through our databases. So what the Lean library does is when you have installed it on your browser, so it's compatible with different browsers such as Chrome, Firefox, even Safari. Um, when you have, after installing this plugin and you start your search on Google Scholar, if that particular article that you're looking for is not available for free, the Lean Library plugin will actually prompt you and say that your library has access to this particular article that you are looking for. And there will be a link for you to follow. That link will take you directly into a library database. Then you can access the full text from there. So this plugin actually ensures that you do not lose out on references or on literature that is actually key for your study. So without this plugin, I think that you might think that, well, there's no access and try to find something, whereas what you were looking for in the first place is a study that is very key to what you are doing. So please do note the Lean Library tool. You can access it from that link that I have provided, leanlibrary.com, and do the installation from then onwards. We also have access to theses and dissertations, and on the slide I have just given a few reasons why you must use theses and dissertations. I think if you are doing your master's or this is your first year of master's or your first year of PhD, and you are seeing that you are in the beginning of the year, some of you might be at the proposal stage. So we find that looking at previous theses or dissertations actually can help you in a number of ways. First of all, you will get a sense of what are the trends, or you will get a sense of ideas that you want to pursue with your research. Um, Theses and dissertations also tend to explore topics in a much more broader sense. So there's more coverage or exploration of the topics compared to what you will get from journal articles. Um, you really get a lot from the literature reviews because thesis and dissertations will have a whole chapter dedicated to literature review. So you will get a sense of what was really explored in a specific dissertation or thesis that you're looking at, and you will get ideas on how you can apply that to your own study, or what direction did the other researchers take and what do you want to do for your own study. You will also get a sense of what methodology to follow. And we find that, especially at masters, it might be a little bit daunting because it's, I think, the first time that you are doing such an in-depth study. So you will get a sense of how to approach it, how to write academically, how to structure your chapters, and so forth. So that helps a lot. So as the library, we have what we call the UJ Institutional Repository. This is a platform that houses all the completed thesis and dissertations that were done at UJ. So these theses and dissertations are categorized according to supervisor, according to faculty or department. So we recommend that you look at them as you start your own study. Then we also have a tool that is called EndNote. This is a useful tool that helps you with your citations and bibliographies, but you can also store your references, your literature. As you find articles from the library databases or from Google Scholar, you can automatically export or share PDFs into EndNote. You can upload your entire PDF folder on EndNote, because EndNote integrates with Microsoft Word. So as you find articles, you share on EndNote. As you write, you use what you have saved on EndNote to cite. And as you cite, a bibliography is automatically created for you at the bottom, and you can choose the relevant referencing style, ranging from APA, Harvard, Vancouver, Chicago, and so forth. So it has over 4,000 referencing styles, so which might also be applicable if you are writing an article for a journal paper as well, or if you are writing a journal paper. So there's a whole lot of referencing styles to choose from every time you write a paper. So this is a very useful tool to have. We find that it sort of saves you a lot of time, especially if you are at the beginning of your research, it's still early in the year. So the sooner you start using it, the better. The trick is it only references what you have saved in it. So sometimes students hear of this tool much later in the year, before they submit their final dissertations or thesis, and then they have a whole lot of references that they must still upload here on EndNote. Then it becomes a little bit of a challenge because they are pressured. So to do that. So if you start early, it works out better because you have the whole year, or a few months at least in 2025, to really manage your references. And we do give lots of training sessions on EndNote as well, on the institutional repository, on the library databases, and so forth. What we also do is we give advice in terms of publishing and copyright. So sometimes as a master's student, and as well as PhD students, you are required to publish a paper as part of your study. So the research officer has shared with us a list of accredited journals. So these are journals that are subsidized by the University of Johannesburg. So as you know, we don't just publish in any journal. First, we need to check if the journal is accredited, meaning it is recognized at UK. And secondly, you might also need to know how this journal is doing. So you need to check how this journal is ranked, how the articles in that particular journal are cited, because then it gives you an idea of how that particular journal is performing. So there are many factors that go into choosing a journal. And recently, there have been many issues around fake journals. So technically, that is called predatory publishing. Some of you might have heard about this. So these are fake journals, really, that will write you an email saying that they have seen your work coming out, and they think that you are doing an incredible job, and can you please publish with us? So when you get such emails, the best thing to do is to check with your supervisor whether this is legit, and also because a legit journal will not invite you to publish with them. You sort of the other way around. And we do give workshops on how to spot predatory publishers and so forth, the red flags. Um, Open access publishing, this is I think a movement that ensures that um, information or what we publish or what you publish as a researcher is freely available, but then it comes at a cost. So this means that whatever you publish, whichever journal you choose to publish in, um, the the end users will not have to pay to access that particular journal. So it's called open access publishing. But then the cost of publishing that way uh, goes to the user. So what we have done, so you pay to publish in open access journals. So what we have done as the library, we have come up with a fund that is called a article processing charges. And what we do is whenever a researcher wants to publish in an open access journal that is accredited, the library covers those costs. So each faculty will have a certain pot of money. So sometimes this money runs out before the end of the year because there's so much publishing. But each faculty will have a certain criteria that they use to determine who is eligible for these funds. So if you have identified an open access journal that you would like to publish in, the best thing to do will be to inquire with your supervisor or your faculty first, because then your faculty needs to approve that you can indeed go ahead, and the library will manage the logistics around paying the publisher. So please do talk to your supervisor or your faculty first. And if you do not know also which open access journals to publish in, we do keep lists of open access journals. We can perform searches on highly ranked open access journals. We also help you to ensure that to work on the visibility of your research. It is one thing to write your research, your thesis, your dissertation, your papers. I think the journey just does not end there. So as a researcher, we just need to start early with this to make sure that what we do is available to the larger community out there. So we promote a tool that is called ORCID. So ORCID is a platform really that is meant, and we give training on this, that is meant for researchers. So in this platform, you can upload all your works, starting from your thesis or your dissertation and your papers, and then you can actually get a URL. You have probably seen some maybe professors at the university on their signature, they will have something that is called an ORC ID. So from that URL, others will get to see what you have worked on previously, and it is a good way also to promote your work. So we do give trainings on that as well. So this is all for free. Okay, you don't need to pay anything for it. You just need to create an account on ORCID and upload a few things. It also serves as your CV, really, because you can capture your employment history and so forth. Google Scholar profiles, that's also another way of promoting your work. If you do not know how to create a Google Scholar profile, so your work is out there, and so people can find your work outside these journals that might need people sometimes to have subscriptions to. A Google Scholar profile is a best way to do this. So we also give trainings on how to do your Google Scholar profile, and we also help you if you are not sure how to use uh, a certain image that you have found online. We have a copyright officer in the library, or if you want to replicate maybe a research a tool, maybe for your data collection, maybe you found something online and you want to actually use that tool that someone else has used. Maybe it's a survey or interview questions for the interview. Then our copyright officer will sort of reach out to that particular author and ask for permission. Of course, we encourage that you borrow our books, particularly the ones that are in the library. If some of them, if some of the items that you would like to use are unfortunately in print, then you can borrow items. But as I said earlier, we have also moved so much to electronic books. So you can still borrow electronic books. So this means that for an electronic book, there are different download options. So you can keep it to 5 days, you can keep it for 7 days. So there is a process that we follow, and we also cover this in our training. So what will happen essentially is when you borrow an ebook, you can read the book offline on your device. So the book gets downloaded onto some software that you would need to install on your device. It stays there for a specific number of days. And when that period, the lending period is over, that book will just disappear from your device. And if other users would like to use the book while you have it, when they go into the download link, they will get a message that says this book is in use. They can actually place a booking for an electronic book. So that's how we manage the borrowing of online books. But for normal lending, that is for print books, postdocs or research fellows can borrow 30 items for 60 days. And doctoral and master's honors, BTech and fourth year degree students, 16 books for 30 days, and prospective postgraduate students, 8 books for 14 days. You can renew books twice if you are not done within that specific period, provided there isn't a booking on the book. Lastly, we have a series of workshops that we offer. I think a very basic one that I will encourage some of you, especially if you are new to the university, to attend is our library 101 session, where we look at the resources that I have mentioned, the library catalog, the databases, and we do practical examples. So an opportunity for you to engage with these tools and to see how you can navigate them as you do your research. We do sessions on using the library databases and using EndNote, because as you find articles on these databases, it makes sense that you already save them on EndNote. So what we do there is we highlight how you can actually automatically export these references into EndNote. We also cover topics on how to publish, how to prepare manuscripts, and for those how to write not how to write academically, but what are the features of a good manuscript, what are editors looking for, and so forth. And those kind of workshops are offered in partnership with the publishers that we work with, and so forth. So on our library homepage, right at the top, there is a link that says training and videos. So you will get tutorials that we have created on how to search for books, but you will also get information on our training schedule, so you can make your booking there already. And I spoke about EndNote on the homepage as well. If you click right at the top, if you click on this tab, you will be taken to a guide that actually gives you step-by-step information on how to install EndNote, which is done from you can do it from Moodle, and how to set it up and how to actually start using it. So this supplements the training also that we offer. So that is all that I had to share with you. Thank you so much for your attention. And if you have questions, I am happy to answer those. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Miss Ivy. Colleagues, if you do have a question, this is now the time. Just unmute your mic and ask a question, and Miss Ivy will attend to it. Or you can also type it on the chat box. Just a quick one, Miss Ivy. Does the library offer assistant with Atlas TI?
Yes, I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that it's a fairly new service that we offer. So the library has a license for Atlas TI. So I think maybe let me just share quickly find that so I can share the link. So you apply to get a license. Applications can never really be declined. It's just a process because we need to activate your profile on Atlas TI and so forth. So you just need to send through an application with your name and all the other information that is required. So we do give access, and we also give training as well on Atlas TI. And I was talking to the colleagues on that this morning, and they informed me that they are going to start with their training from the first week of March.
Okay, thank you so much for this. I was asking that because we sometimes get students coming to the postgraduate school asking assistant with the Atlas TI, while the postgraduate school only provides assistant with SPSS. So thank you for clarifying that. Any questions, colleagues, before we let Miss Ivy leave the session?
The Atlas TI training schedule is not out yet. So as soon as it is out, it will be. We have a way of keeping you up to date with the library trainings. So we send emails to all the postgraduate students. So they will be sending their schedule. They will be sharing their schedule with you. But they informed me this morning that they will start their training in March. So these are group training sessions, but if you would like for a one-on-one session, that can also be arranged for.
Thank you. Regarding the common research areas, do we have a common research area for one person whereby I can just only book for one person, me alone there?
Yes.
Or it's open for only for group sessions?
So we have multiple rooms. So we have, this is only at APK. So firstly, the research rooms are only available from the Kingsway Library. So we have 3 rooms that are on offer. The 2 rooms that we have are for 2 people, and we only have 1 room that can be used by a person, 1 person. So it is best that if you know that you will be coming over, just maybe try to book ahead of time because they can be quite popular.
Okay, thank you so much. Colleagues, if you do have a question, just unmute yourself and ask. Let me check. Hang on. Okay, there is no question under the chat and under the Q&A. Anyone having a question? Okay, I think we are good to go then if everyone is satisfied. Thank you so much, Miss Ivy, for facilitating this workshop and giving us more information about the services that the library offers. We really appreciate your time. If they do want to contact you regarding the services, kindly share us your email address in the chat box and then they can access that.
There you go. I've shared it.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, colleagues, as well, for taking your time to join our information session for today. We do hope and believe that you have learned something from each department, which is the library, as well as the TTO and the CATS department. So we do have another session at 1 information session, which will be campus health and psyched as well as the protection service. So if you do want to learn more about each department, what do they offer as a to postgraduate student, please join the next session, which will start at 1. So thank you to everyone for joining. The workshop recording will be uploaded to Moodle community as well as the resources, which includes the presentation for each presenter will be shared to your Moodle community. I did share a evaluation link earlier. I'm sharing it again now. So please do fill in that evaluation. This helped us in organizing workshop of this kind and also aligning our workshop according to your needs, as well as to give feedback to our facilitators. And not only that, evaluation form, filling it will ensure that our participants get a certificate of attendance. So if you want to get a certificate of attendance, please do fill in that evaluation form. We thank you so much for taking your time. We hope to see you in the next session. Thank you. Have a great day further.